Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our testimony meeting. Let's begin by singing hymn number 350. Through the love of God our Saviour, all will be well. Free and changeless is his favour, all must be well. Precious is the love that healed us, perfect is the grace that sealed us, strong the hand stretched forth to shield us. All is well. Hymn number 350. The subject of this evening's readings is expectation. And I'll start by reading from the Bible. Psalms. My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. In God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God. In God, trust in him at all times. Matthew. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. And behold, there came a leper unto him, and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Proverbs. The hope of the righteous shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way of the Lord is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. Acts. Then there came thither certain Jews from Antioch and Iconium, who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead. Howbeit, as the disciples stood round about him, he rose up and came into the city, and the next day he departed with Barnabas to Derbe. And when they had preached the gospel to this city and had taught many, they returned again to Lystra and to Iconium and Antioch. Now Peter and John went up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being the 9th hour, and a certain man, lame from his mother's womb, was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple, who, seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. And Peter, fastening his eyes upon him with John, said, Look on us. And he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Then Peter said, Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. And he took him by the right hand and lifted him up. And immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. And he, leaping up, stood and walked, and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. Jeremiah. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Then shall ye call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And ye shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search for me with your whole heart, and I will be found of you, saith the Lord. I'm now going to read from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. God is love. Can we ask him to be more? God is intelligence. Can we inform the infinite mind at anything he does not already comprehend? Do we expect to change perfection? Shall we plead for more at the open fount, which is pouring forth more than we accept? The unspoken desire does bring excuse me, does bring us nearer the source of all existence and blessedness. If truth is overcoming error in your daily walk and conversation, you can finally say, I have fought a good fight. I have kept the faith, because you are a better man. This is having our part in the at one-ment with truth and love. Christians do not continue to labor and pray, expecting because of another's goodness, suffering, and triumph that they may reach his harmony and reward. If the disciple is advancing spiritually, he is striving to enter in. He constantly turns away from material sense and looks towards the imperishable things of spirit. If honest, he will be in earnest from the start and gain a little each day in the right direction, till at last he finishes his course with joy. The flesh lusteth against the spirit. The flesh and spirit can no more unite in action than good can coincide with evil. It is not wise to take a halting and halfway position, or to expect to work equally with spirit and matter, truth and error. There is but one way in Christian Science, namely God and his idea, which leads to spiritual being. The scientific government of the body must be attained through the divine mind. It is impossible to gain control over the body in any other way. On this fundamental point, timid conservatism is absolutely inadmissible. Only through radical reliance on truth can scientific healing power be realized. A bit dark here. I just want to make it better. If a dose of poison is swallowed through mistake, and the patient dies, even though physician and patient are expecting favorable results, does human belief, you ask, cause this death? Even so, and as directly as if the poison had been intentionally taken. In such cases, a few persons believe the poison swallowed by the patient to be harmless, but the vast majority of mankind, though they know nothing of this particular case and this special person, believe the arsenic, the strychnine, or whatever the drug used to be poisonous, for it is set down as a poison by mortal mind. Consequently, the result is controlled by the majority of opinions, not by the infinitesimal minority of opinions in the sick chamber. In mathematics, we do not multiply when we should subtract and then say the product is correct. No more can we say in science that muscles give strength, that nerves give pain or pleasure, or that matter governs, and then expect that the result will be harmony. Not muscles, nerves, nor bones, but mortal mind makes the whole body sick and the whole heart faint, whereas divine mind heals. When this is understood, we shall never affirm concerning the body what we do not wish to have manifested. We shall not call the body weak if we would have it strong, for the belief in feebleness must obtain in the human mind before it can be made manifest on the body, and the destruction of the belief will be the removal of its effects. Science includes no rule of discord, but governs harmoniously. The wish, says the poet, is even farther to the thought. Some invalids are unwilling to know the facts or to hear about the fallacy of matter and its supposed laws. They devote themselves a little longer to their material gods, cling to a belief in the life and intelligence of matter, and expect this error to do more for them than they are willing to admit the only living and true God can do. Impatient at your explanation, unwilling to investigate the science of mind which would rid them of their complaints, they hug false beliefs and suffer the delusive consequences. Mortals must change their ideals in order to improve their models. A sick body is evolved from sick thoughts. Sickness, disease, and death proceed from fear. Sensualism evolves bad physical and moral conditions. Selfishness and sensualism are educated in mortal mind by the thoughts ever recurring to oneself, by conversation about the body, and by the expectation of perpetual pleasure or pain from it. And this education is at the expense of spiritual growth. If we array thought in mortal vestures, it must lose its immortal nature. As the children of Israel were guided triumphantly through the Red Sea, the dark, ebbing and flowing the tides of human fear, as they were led through the wilderness, walking wearily through the great desert of human hopes and anticipating the promised joy, so shall the spiritual idea guide all right desires in their passage from sense to soul, from a material sense of existence to the spiritual, up to the glory prepared for them that love God. Stately science pauses not, but moves before them, a pillar of cloud by day and of fire by night, leading to divine heights. The discoverer of Christian Science finds the path less difficult when she has the high goal always before her thoughts than when she counts her footsteps in endeavoring to reach it. When the destination is desirable, expectation speeds our progress. The struggle for truth makes one strong instead of weak, resting instead of wearying one. So now let's have a few moments of silent prayer and then repeat the Lord's Prayer together. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Oh. Let's sing our next hymn, 189. Mine eyes look toward the mountains. Help cometh from on high, from God who never slumbers, whose care is ever nigh. My foot shall not be moved. My keeper is the Lord. He never shall forsake me. I trust me in his word. Number 189. I haven't got any special notices, but if you look at our website, you will find all the information on there. That's csreading.co.uk. So now it's time to share inspiration, healings, and remarks on Christian Science. Don't forget to unmute yourself by pressing the appropriate icon on the screen, or pressing star followed by 6 if you're on the telephone. And then don't forget to mute yourself afterwards. So let's open the meeting now. It's over to you.
Hello, Jane.
Hello.
One of the challenges of expectancy sometimes, or expectation, I think, is we don't know quite how long things are going to go on. So, we can start out expectant and then things don't go quite the way that we think they ought to have done. And the key then is not losing our inspiration or our expectation, but holding on to the truth that the right unfoldment is taking place, even if it seems not to be visible at that moment. My house sale and the purchase of a flat has been a very good example of that. As many people will probably know, I actually started on the sale of my house about 2 years ago, just a few weeks short of 2 years ago. And of course, um, I don't know quite what my expectation is, but I certainly expected it to unfold. And if I'm blunt, I expected to unfold more quickly than it did. And so did the estate agent and the solicitor and just anybody else that you could possibly ask. And it did take, in the end, it took a very long time. So often you then wonder, why is it doing this and what's the lesson? Well, I suppose one lesson is patience. It was quite challenging at times, but things to be grateful for were that the people who put in the first offer about 18 months actually before we completed the sale, they stayed committed to the sale. So in that sense, that was a great benefit. They were very keen on the house and they stayed committed. The problems related actually to sale of one of a property by them, um, and of course it was very hard to get to the bottom of quite what was happening. And anyway, I'm very grateful to say that the sale did go through. It went through about, what, 3 months ago now. And I suppose another benefit of the delay was it did make it easier to move out. It also gave us time to dispose of about 50 years of accumulated stuff. I'm not quite sure that I should call it rubbish because some of it wasn't, but because of the nature of the house and it had quite large eaves, uh, those eaves were full, and we were able over time to get those emptied out and also to sell items of furniture. And then another rather strange thing happened. About 4 months after I'd accepted the offer on the house, I put in an offer on a flat in Chelmsford. It was a very nice flat, and I was really very keen on it. But of course, the process, the dragging out of the process, was difficult not only for me but for the poor people from whom I was buying the flat. And I was having some support from a practitioner on a couple of occasions and really striving to see that God's work is done and that harmony is the fact. It is God's law of harmony governing everything. And yet, despite all this, it continued to drag out. In the end, in the sale of the house, it actually was resolved in a very short time. Once the problem that seemed to be holding it all up had been identified, it actually was resolved quite quickly, which I was grateful for. And as I say, it was really helpful to have some of that time to solve the problems on emptying the house out and so on. But of course, then in the background was this other flat that I was hoping to buy, and strangely, the sellers stayed committed to this sale until the very last moment, until the moment actually when I was ready to go ahead, finalize the purchase, at which point they pulled out. And that, of course, was something of a surprise and a disappointment, I have to say. But I felt that, again, on the positive side, I now was in a position to proceed with another purchase, and I would have the money to go through that very quickly. And almost coincidental with completing on the sale of the house, the estate agent in Chelmsford drew my attention to another property, which was not quite in the same block, but adjacent block to the previous one. And so obviously I was interested in that because the location was good. And we went my daughter and I went to have a look at it, and we really liked it. It was actually turned out to be a little bigger than the flat that I was previously intending to buy, and it was actually significantly cheaper. Um, I'm not quite sure why that was. And the other advantage from my point of view was that it was empty. The people who owned it uh, had moved to Dubai or somewhere in that part of the world. So it looked as if the purchase would go through fairly quickly. I put in, well, I agreed actually to the price that they were asking, and then I put it in the hands of the solicitor and so on. And although it hasn't taken anything like the time that the sale of the house took, it does seem somewhat to have dragged. And about 2 weeks ago, we came upon an obstacle, which I won't go into the details, but there was a legal document, a certificate that was required. And because some of the conditions which were related to previous owners of the flat had not been fulfilled, the landlord or the managing agents had said that they would not provide this certificate. Now, actually, I didn't know all the details of this at the time, but at that time, I was just picking it up, the whole matter, mentally, and daily praying to know, as before, that God is in control and that there really aren't any untransactions in God's universe. There's simply unfoldment. And it's the unfoldment of what is already complete. It is unfoldment and fulfillment, but there isn't any stagnation. And after the previous experience, it sounded a bit rich to say that, but nevertheless, that was what I felt I really needed to hold to. And it looked almost for a short time as if this purchase was going to fall through, which was a bit disappointing, to say the least. But at least, as I said, I would have the money to go ahead with the purchase. And then, thanks to the estate agent concerned, who it turned out had approached the managing agents regarding this certificate, which they had refused to provide, they suddenly changed their mind and got back in touch with the agent and said, yes, it's all right, we will do it. And that, of course, made it possible for the purchase to proceed. And so I just felt there was a real unfoldment of that. And in the last week or so, there have been a couple of occasions when I've been sort of preparing my thought for the day, as it were, that I have really perhaps been more vigorous than I had previously on occasions been in giving this whole situation a treatment. I was doing it. I have a little bit of software now that I can dictate to, and it just writes the whole thing out for me. And I have found this extremely convenient. Um, so anybody who's dealt with me probably noticed they're probably getting longer emails and things from me now than they used to. But that's an aside. But I was writing out these treatments, particularly on a couple of occasions. And on both the days that I did this, something happened, something changed in the process. I can't always remember precisely what it was. But today I was doing this again, and the I felt we were making progress, and I have to say that we're not quite there yet in the sense that I haven't exchanged contracts. But my understanding is now that there is nothing further to delay the exchange. And this consistent knowing the truth despite what appear to be delays, but is actually really just natural unfoldment, um, is does look as if it's coming to fulfillment. And I've had an email today saying that they're ready to send me the documents to sign, and with something else in it, which I can't remember. But as I say, it really looks as if things are about to move ahead. And I'm really very grateful for that. I mean, there have undoubtedly been lessons in this, and it's an example of a situation where things don't always go the way that we hope that they will, or what our initial expectation might be. But despite that, maintaining the expectation is important, and the recognition that when things are right, it will unfold, it will come to fruition. So I just thought I'd share that because I'm very grateful now that it looks really as if hopefully we're on the last lap. So, and thank you for the readings.
Thank you very much, John. Jane H has got a chat on there. Can somebody read it out, please? Oh, I can see it now, I think.
I could read it, Jane, if you'd like me to. Anthony here.
Yes, please.
I think I've got it. Let me just get this right. Yes, it's from Jane Harrison, and she says, I heard this story on a Sentinel watch called Texas Drought and Wildfires. It's about expectancy. A village was having a drought, so they all decided to go to the town square to pray, and only one little girl brought her umbrella. Thank you, from Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Very good.
Lovely.
Anthony here again, Jane. It's I was just thinking about our subject of expectation, and thank you very much for the readings this evening. And I was thinking how the experience of others can help us with our expectation of good when we're praying away about whatever it is that needs prayerful attention in our lives. And that's where meetings such as this are so important. We hear thoughts and experiences from others, as we've heard already this evening. Some of you who live in near Reading will know that we had a video lecture in our reading room yesterday by Mark Swinney, and it was called Eternal Life. Could it be that God didn't intend you to age? Which is quite a thought-provoking title, I thought. And I went along to that, and I was hugely impressed. Many of you here may well have, some of you will have been there yesterday, and I shared some thoughts about it with our Bible lesson reading group this morning, and I can see that some of you are here too, so bear with me. But Mark Swinney was, and some of you may have heard this elsewhere, Mark Swinney was saying that he went through Sunday school. He had a wonderful Sunday school teacher, and he used to ride his bike against the wind to go and see her at other times. And she really inspired him and was one of the reasons why he eventually went into the practice and is now a lecturer and so on. very active in Mother Church work. Years after that Sunday school experience, this lady's children, who by then were grown up, 3 or 4 of them, very much adults by then, contacted him to say that she was dying and would he go and see her. So he did, and knocked on the door, and one of them welcomed him in and showed him through, and he had to go through a room where there were 2 or 3 others of her children, her grown-up children, and they were all busy discussing dividing up the spoils, as it were, you know, when their mother had departed. He wasn't too impressed with that, but anyhow, that was just an aside. And he was taken into the room where she was lying on a bed, unconscious, and it was quite a challenging thing to see. And he just sat there and listened for what God wanted him to know, needed him to know. And he asked God to guide him, and then just listened for the answer, and stopped looking at the apparent, the mortal picture, but listened for what God was seeing. And he was filled with the absolute conviction that life is an eternal, timeless thing. It fills not only every corner of that room where they were, but the whole creation, the whole universe was filled with life. And he held to that thought. And he was then aware that she was no longer breathing, and that she had passed on. So he asked God again what he needed to know now. And he was filled with an absolutely unlimited sense of divine love, and that all was well, because God saw that all was well. And he just held to that thought and held on to that thought. And he found himself talking to her, and she was talking to him. And they had a conversation that went on for an hour or so, I think he said. And then she resumed her practice as a Christian Science practitioner, and went on doing God's work for many years after that experience. And I just thought that was a remarkable account, and it fitted very much with what we've read in this week's lesson sermon on Christ Jesus about the raising of Lazarus. And you know, if we are not called upon to walk on the water or raise people from the dead, we can be inspired that others have done these things, are doing these things, not just long ago in Jesus' time. Not so sure about walking on the water, but certainly, you know, healing that sense of life being limited. It isn't, and we can know that, and that speeds our expectation, speeds our progress. And incidentally, the other thing I just wanted to say was congratulations on that lovely slide with the train and expectation coming out of the chimney. That looks like a John Large piece of work. I don't know, but I I really appreciated that. And thank you again, Jane, for the lovely readings that you prepared for us tonight. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Well, I think I'll share with you something that I had to deal with this week. This wretched problem which I'm expecting to get rid of, that's been going on for so long. It keeps coming to a big head, and I had to go to the dentist, and there was an appointment for me yesterday at 3:20. And this problem just came to a head just on that morning. I was really worried that this was going to happen. So the thing that I greatly feared was to come upon me. And I actually clung to this first hymn for all the morning. I couldn't get my practitioner until after 2 o'clock. I'd forgotten that at the time she was having a meeting. And so I clung to the hymn, the first one, through the love of God our Saviour, all will be well. And the second one, though we pass through tribulation, all will be well. And then we expect, well, I didn't use the last verse because it says a bright tomorrow, and I wanted it to be today, that day. And I just clung to those two verses. I memorized them and I went through them and I thought about them all morning. And then I rang my practitioner immediately after 2 o'clock before we had to leave. And she suggested I just cling on to one simple thought. Because the thought of having a dentist drilling into your head when you feel like that is not very encouraging. So she suggested I clung onto a citation from the previous week's lesson, which was on and all that really exists is the divine mind and its idea. And in this mind, the entire being is found harmonious and eternal. So I kept that and I applied it to myself. My whole being is in God and is harmonious and eternal. And I can expect it to be so. And I just clung on to that for the rest of the time, the drive there and into the dentist. They're lovely people, and the dentist. And I got really calm. I felt really calm. And when I was in the dentist chair, I just felt really calm, and I felt completely detached from a material body. I thought it was nothing to do with me. And so it all went through well, and I came out and was very relieved and very grateful for the Christian Science help, for the practitioners' help, and all the help that we get from all the Christian Science that supports us. And I am wholly expecting still to be free of these lies that are trying to pin themselves on me. I know they're not me. And I'm really looking forward to being rid of them, to know their nothingness, and to be really strengthened and uplifted into my true dwelling place in the spiritual realm of the real. So I thought it was such a good demonstration. I thought it would a good thing to share this evening. We have a few more minutes. So we'd love to hear anything else anybody has they can share.
Hi, it's Francesca here. Can you hear me?
Oh, hello, Francesca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't given this testimony before because my internet was cutting in and out, but I think it seems to be okay at the moment, probably because of the heat. Anyway, I was lying in bed and not able to sleep, and I suddenly felt there was a very tight band across my chest. And I thought, oh gosh, have I forgotten to take some underwear off? So I checked, and I hadn't got any particular item of underwear that was tight, and I just thought, oh gosh, a tight band across the chest means there's a heart problem. And I just lay there for a couple of minutes, really, really worried. And then I thought, this isn't the way to tackle it. You just put yourself in God's hands and relax and know that God is with you and he's looking after you, and you're just going to be fine. And it doesn't mean you're having a heart attack. And it's just all going to dissipate. It's not going to be an issue because God is with you all the time. And I just lay there clinging on to this thought for a few minutes. And then this tight band feeling just went away. It had worried me quite a bit when it was happening, but I managed to cling on to the fact that God was with me, and whatever happened, he was there for me all the time. And it just went, and I was just very grateful that I had Christian Science to help me through what was quite a scary experience. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesca. Well done, that's very good. Okay, so now I think we'll sing our last hymn. This is number 351. Through the night of doubt and sorrow, onward goes the pilgrim band, singing songs of expectation, marching to the promised land. Clear before us through the darkness gleams and burns the guiding light. Brother clasps the hand of brother, stepping fearless through the night. Hymn number 351. Thank you very much, everybody, for your testimonies and for joining us and supporting us this evening. And that's all for now. And so good evening to everybody.